but we're talking lower body. It's all about ground reaction. So we have the jumps, we have vertical, lateral, rotational. I'll go over those. We have more of a deficit with an explosive rebound, which are really, really good, and then a split to split. So we'll go full screen here. Just demo some of those really quick. Not expecting you to necessarily do these on your own at home or anything right now, but I want to give you a kind of an example of what we're talking about here. So from a ground reaction standpoint, we have the vertical. So what you might want to work on is just a very, very simple getting down into a squat pattern rapidly and then exploding up off the ground. So it's going to look, full camera here, it's going to look a little bit like kind of a quick movement, almost like you were going to do a long jump or something like that off of 2 feet. You get down to the squat pattern and then explode up and stick the landing, right? So when we do speed work, we'll talk in a second about contrast training, but typically speed work, it's very, very high effort when you do a rep, but we're only doing 3 or 4 or 5 reps max, all right? Little mini break and then explode for height. We're just going for height and we're going for sticking the landing, okay? So you can do a vertical, just a strict vertical jump. So I'll talk about contrast training in a second here and show you what that looks like. We could work, so in the golf swing, the ground reaction, there's vertical, there's horizontal or side to side, and then there's rotation. So vertical obviously would be going for height. If we wanted to work on height with a little bit of rotation, we could think about 180-degree turns. So now we're doing the same pattern, but I'm going to spin 180 degrees as I go as high as I can. Okay, so that's just killing 2 birds with 1 stone there, basically. For rotational, kind of a fun one is you can actually try to do the 180-degree turn, but see how quickly you can do it and how low you can stay on the ground. So this is something now where we're kind of winding the body up, and I'm going and trying to stick that landing. So now I'm not going for height, I'm going for how much velocity can I create rotationally through the feet. And then the side to sides, I always like kind of the skater move. So this is a pretty simple one where we're going to kind of tap back behind, and then you're going for distance and stick. Tap, load, distance, stick, and we're working side to side there, okay? So to give you an example, we'll talk about the contrast training, which just means usually I'm combining these. When somebody is ready and they're safe and they're developing a foundational amount of strength, we're combining these with another strength movement that we already talked about. So, for example, the explosive with the rotation, I might do a squat pattern with somebody, work on the maximal force production there. So we go heavier load, lower reps, obviously, and then almost immediately they get done with that exercise, and I have them come over and do very light load, body weight, how fast or how high can you go, and do 3 or 4 reps that way. So you do a maximal strength exercise with a speed-based exercise, and then you'd rest like 3 minutes, all right? And this is where my favorite parts about it is 2 or 3 times a week, you develop those 4 or 5 main strength patterns, maybe a couple things speed-based to go with it. You knock it out, low rep, big effort, longer rest periods. You're not in the gym for hours on end, and you certainly don't need to do it every day, and you can get really, really big gains with it, all right? A couple of the other options here are going to be, we talked about split to split. So once you get more dynamic and you get that some of that stuff gets too easy, just like some of the squat stuff, we start going more split, drive, switch, catch, and you're going alternating there. So drive down, split, drive, catch, and then reset. Okay, so it's just challenging the stability a little bit, just to give you an example of how we would progress that. And then I'm going to grab a stool here for our deficit rebound. Basically, the deficit is the idea of starting on an elevated surface or something like that. And this is a little bit lower, but you would fall down from that elevated surface, rebound like a trampoline, and then drive up as far as you can for height. So it might look like. Okay, so a lot of times, again, progression like that, the person has been doing their standard plyometric work, and now we're ready to start adding in that reaction, that speed off the ground. Okay, so those are some of the lower body.